What's up folks, it's James from SeekaHost. Today we're just going to be doing a quick run through of how you can add your domains to your PBN hosting here on SeekaHost.App. It's a quick easy process, however if you've never done it before this is going to be a great guide to get you started, and once you've done it once you know how to do it, no matter how many blogs you have, whether you've got 5, 10 or 100. So with that, let's get right into the guide. So once you've registered your domain, you're going to find it in your domains list on the SeekaHost dashboard. What we now need to do is make the connection between the domain and the PBN blog site. First of all, if you don't have a hosting plan, you can of course do that before you get started just to save a bit of time. Just go down to the PBN hosting and then choose a package that's going to suit you. This covers anything from 3, 5 blogs, anything up to 150 blogs at one time. And of course the bigger the package you get, the more savings you're going to get. So if you're thinking, okay, well I've only got 3 but I know that I'm going to be getting 20, 30 or 50, it might be worth it just getting your hosting like that so then you end up saving money in the long term. Anyway, once you've updated or got the package that you need, head back over to the dashboard. I'm going to go to the PBN blog sites. Once you've purchased your package, you're also going to see in the top right your allocation of how many blogs you can have on your hosting. So let's go ahead and create new blog. In the blog domain, we're going to add our blog domain. You don't need to add the HTTPS, don't need to add the www, simply the domain name and the TLD. So for instance, this one's going to be ezippy.co.uk. Next up, select a blog category. You have to pre-create your category, so if you don't have a category, I'd suggest going back and just adding your category. You can easily do that by coming over to the category section and then adding whatever categories you might need to add your PBN blogs to. It simply makes it much easier to manage, especially once you start having quite a lot, 10, 20, 30 or 50 blogs. It's much easier to have them categorized. Adding your blog title, I'm just going to put example blogs, this of course is an example, and then choose whether you want it visible or not. Obviously on the most part you're going to want to have it visible. Additionally, by also going to the WordPress settings, you can also add or remove certain plugins with your installation. It comes with a list of very popular plugins that a lot of people use, so if you do want to add that to your PBN site for installation, you can simply click these before you add blog to add them as well. Once done, go ahead to add blog. Now, this can take anything up to 5 minutes to add it to your blog list, and essentially what it's going to do, it's going to create you your unique IP, name servers, and the information you're going to need to connect your domain to your PBN hosting site. As you can see, I've got a red SSL certificate. We can enable this for free in a minute as soon as we connect our domain to our hosting using the name servers and IPs. Now to get the connection done, we're going to go over to action. Here we're going to be given our name server 1 and the IP for our name server 1, followed by name server 2, which is ns2, whatever your domain name is, and then an IP for that as well. This is sometimes where the confusion comes in, so let's keep it simple and let's simply add this to our domain so you can just follow this as an easy guide. Now I'm going to do this in a separate tab so we can simply switch over, so I've kept my tab open with my PBN site. On the other tab I'm going to go over to my domains. Find the domain that you want to connect to your PBN site and then click the action button, the blue cog on the right. Now before we make any changes, make sure that your domain is unlocked. If it's locked, we won't be able to save any changes because of course this is keeping us secure from anybody trying to make any changes that isn't you or not authorized. And of course I'm just going to mention now to make sure you lock it after you make any changes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the name server section. Here we're going to choose use custom private name servers. However, before we do that, we want to scroll down a little bit to the manage your private name server section. Here we're going to add the NS1 and NS2 name servers with the IPs independently. If we come over to our PBN site, you can see that this is our name server 1 and this is the IP connected to our name server 1. I'm simply going to copy the IP for name server 1 and I'm going to go back over to my domain. As you can see, it's already auto-filled with our domain, so it's done a lot of the job for us. So essentially all we need to add here is NS1 to signify that it's name server 1, and then we're going to be adding the IP address. I'm just going to paste the IP address there and then click create. Once that's done, you're going to get a green message showing that your name servers have now been updated, and we now need to do this for NS2. So name server 2, we've got a separate IP over here. I'm going to click that to copy it. Come back over again, it's going to be down to your manage your private name server section first, and we're going to type in NS2 to signify name server 2, and we're going to paste the IP here. Once you've done NS2, click create, and that's your 2 name servers and IPs added. Now let me show you something in case you get this message. So if you hit create and you get that the name server is already in use, this is going to be if you've already added a different IP and you actually need to change it. So let's just go through how to modify it. Modify name server IP, we're simply going to come down to modify name server IP. This could be potentially if you've hosted it, you've had another hosting and then you started a new site, so you've got a new IP. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to type NS2 and we're going to put in the new IP address. Click modify and you can see the name server IP has now been modified. Of course, if this is your first time adding this particular blog to our hosting, that's not going to be a problem. You're simply just going to be able to add it one by one through manage your private name servers. Once you've added your name server 1 and name server 2 independently onto the system, we're then going to come down to use custom private name servers. Now here, if we come back onto our hosting, we're going to see that this is my NS1, so my name server 1, and this is my name server 2. Really the only difference is the number 1 and 2. So I'm going to copy the first one over, I'm going to come back over to my domain area, and then I'm going to paste it into the top section for nameserver1. Just to save time, I'm simply going to paste the same thing here, and I'm going to change number 1 to number 2. Once you're happy that this corresponds with this here, so it all matches up, we're then going to come down to change nameservers. You've got your nameservers updated successfully and you've updated IPs. That's the basic connection already done, and really it's only taken a matter of minutes. With that done, we're going to come back to the overview, and of course for safety we're going to domain lock our domain. Now I'm just going to close down the domain tab, we don't need that anymore. I'm just going to refresh this page. Now the propagation is going to start. The propagation is the connection between your nameservers, your IPs, and the domain. A great way to test this is by coming over to your Leaf DNS, because we do suggest checking this before trying to log into your site. If you go to site login and you press this button, it's going to try and log you into the site. Now if the propagation hasn't happened, it's simply going to load you onto a non-working site. Now the problem with this is that propagation might take 5 minutes, however if you've tried to log on to the site before that has happened, it's going to cache that on your browser and potentially your Wi-Fi router. Will cause a problem, because then for the next 24 to 48 hours you're going to have the cached version, which is an old saved version of the page that doesn't work when in fact your page is online. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to copy the domain, I'm going to come over to the Leaf DNS and I'm going to paste it into here, and then I'm going to check. It's a free service. Now we can see that the nameserver 1 and nameserver 2 has been added with the correct IPs. Brilliant, that was done within a few minutes. We can close this page down. Now that we know the connection has been made, propagation has been done, we can now enable the SSL certificate. All sites on SeekaHost get SSL certificates because we are keen on safety for our customers. This can stop phishing attacks and is much more secure for payments, and plus it's much more trusted when people come onto a site with a padlock. And you also get the warning from internet browsers if you go onto a page without a padlock, because it's not as secure. So now we know that's done, we can enable this. And as you can see, our SSL will now be activated within 30 minutes and the whole job is now done. Back to PBN hosting info to come back to your main dashboard, and on the left you're going to get a preview of what your site looks like. Usually you will start with a brand new site. This is already a site that's been up, so it's already redirecting to another site. This won't happen with you because this is something I've already pre-set up. However, now what we can do is we can go straight to site login and then log on to your blank PBN site to start editing and building your fantastic blog. You would have got all the information to log in emailed to you, however you can also go to your account manage section to check out your username and your passwords, or change your password. If you've got any more questions or any problems, come over to the support section of your dashboard and create a ticket. Our customer support team will be back to you as soon as possible to help resolve any problems or fix your query.